Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris P.A.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 11, Episode 24, overall 574 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris P.A sent you, or you can email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership is the official sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show for the past 3 years, and Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969. Now, everybody, on this, I believe it's already Wednesday, August 13th, 2025. Summer's flying by, and I'm looking forward to my guest today. Before we bring my guest on today, there is an event happening this Saturday, August 16th, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Fresh Cold Grocery Store at 1 Hessler Road in Cambridge, Ontario. They're doing a fundraiser for the Cambridge District Humane Society. They're going to have hot dogs and pop there, so whatever you can donate, that money will go to the Cambridge District Humane Society, who help out, look out after our homeless friends and make sure they get adopted into good homes and families as well. So if you like hot dogs and pop and you like to help out a good cause, check out the Cambridge District Community Society event with Fresh Cold Grocery Store at 1 Hessler Road this Saturday, August 16th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at 1 Hessler Road. I'm excited about my guest today. He's a friend of mine, a friend of the show, and he is the longtime and the only public address announcer in the history of the Buffalo Bandits, and he's referred as Swinny to his friends. Chris Swenson's going to come on, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Buffalo Bandits and their latest championship. Good afternoon, Chris. How are you?
Great, Chris. How are you?
I am doing well. I can't believe it's already almost the middle of August.
It is. It feels like training camp's right around the corner. And, yeah, it's going. It is. I guess like all summers, they go quick, don't they?
Absolutely. Hey, congratulations on a 7th NLL championship in Buffalo and 3 in a row. That is truly special. It's a dynasty.
Yeah, I appreciate that. First off, thanks for having me back for my 3rd time, I think. So there's 3 in a row right there. There's some synergies there, right, between the 3 championships, and you and I, our 3rd time. But listen, I would say that it's been absolutely unbelievable, right? I mean, I've been with this team 33 seasons. It would have been 35 without COVID. Certainly we've been to the finals and we've lost a bunch of them. And, for us to go back and to win 3 in a row, it just it certainly doesn't help with the losses that we've had in the finals. But winning 3 in a row certainly does. It helps, to offset some of those losses that we've had over the years in the finals.
It's special, and as I cover the Toronto Argonauts too. They've won 2 out of the last 3 Grey Cups, 3 out of the last 7, and this year they're really struggling. And it shows you how hard it is to repeat, let alone 3-peat. Because when you're the champion, Chris, everybody's gunning for you. And I think this year it was all the championships obviously are special, but this one's got to be a little extra special because 3-peat hasn't been done in the National Lacrosse League since Rochester did it over a decade ago. And I think the last 2 pro sports teams that 3-peated were the Yankees, and the Los Angeles Lakers, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I trust you on that. But yes, I would say that, everybody brings their A game when they're playing against the Buffalo Bandits, right? And I get that. Just like as a Buffalo fan, Buffalo Bills fan, I would like to think that the Bills got a little bit more juiced up when they faced Tom Brady because the Patriots were number one in the division and certainly champions, Super Bowl champions. So, they got everybody's A game. And there's no doubt that, over the last couple of years, that everybody is bringing their A game when they play Buffalo. And the fact that we've been able to do that, knowing that everybody's bringing everything they can to each and every game, and this team still being able to persevere, again, just a testament to the organization, Scott Loeffler, Steve Dietrich, Johnny Tavares, and all the players, right? That I think, each and when you kind of look at it, and I'm a guy, I'm 62 years old, and I've been around, and I've seen Bills, and I've been with the Sabres, and I've seen a lot of different, formulas for success. When you see the makeup of this team and you see what they've done with the players, the leadership, the character, you look at a guy like Paul Dawson, who, and I forgot how many it was, but I think he broke a record this playoff season with block shots. You got guys like Kyle Buchanan, who's a quiet leader on the team, digging in the corners, making amazing plays down low. And, you got Dane and Josh and Ian stepping up this year from an offensive side. Nick Weiss and the defense. It's just amazing that, you can put those characters together, and that's the formula for success. And it's been an amazing 3 years, man. And when you look back at it, I think it's, 5 or 6 times over the last 5-6 years, they've been to the finals. But to win it 3 in a row is definitely special. And to be the second team to only do it, very, very special.
Chris, we have some viewers watching. One of them, his name is Robbie Schneider. He's from Buffalo, New York. He has his own podcast, the 716 Sports Blizzard. He just wants to say hi, Chris. And Chris, go Blue Jays, go Bandits, go Bills. He's a huge sports fan. And he has another comment. He wanted to ask you, Chris, how can I contact you to become a guest on his podcast show in the future?
I should be able to DM me just directly on X. Or through Instagram or something like that. You should be able to get to me through there.
Okay, and Jonathan, I believe, who's from Buffalo too, he's watching on Facebook. He says the best in the league, Chris, and I totally agree. I've been to a lot of sporting events with PA announcers, and the job that you do there, Chris, is professional, but you really engage the fans. You do a great job.
Yeah, I'm very, very fortunate that this league allows that, right? Because, in most leagues, whether it's football or even hockey, I did the Sabres to varying degrees, PA, and for 15 years. And, the league itself just doesn't allow a lot of that interaction that we're able to do with the Bandits. So I feel very fortunate, and I appreciate that compliment. For me, and I know we've talked about this, it really was all about knowing that I've had that ability to be able to just do what you wanted to do and make it any way that I wanted to make it. From a PA perspective, being able to talk to the fans and bring the fans closer to the team, and then at the same time try to brand players was really my objective. And, I think we've done a fairly good job of doing that. And I do get, I'm sure there's some fans out there that don't love what we do in Buffalo. But at the same time, too, we get a lot of really good positive feedback from a lot of people that they like the energy that we bring, and they like the fact that, we're able to, help participate in a very, I would say respectful way, to the players on the floor.
Chris, can you tell us a little bit about having the trophy this summer with you and Brett, and where did you take the NLL trophy to?
Yeah, it was awesome. So I got it for a week. And the one thing that I try to do, if I have it for a week or a couple of days, is I do my best to try to bring it out to the community. Because for me, I don't exist without Bandit Land. And, obviously for the kinds of things that I do, the chants and all the things that I do from a dynamic standpoint, in Bandit Land, it takes the fans, to work with me in order to make that work. So I like to get it out in the community. So this past week we had it, Brett and I, and I would say we took the cup everywhere we went, whether it was a restaurant, whether it was a store, just allowed fans to just get pictures with it, ask questions. We took it to the local veterans hospital, and we shared it with doctors and nurses and staff, and also some patients on varying floors that were Bandit fans and wanted pictures of it. The last 3 years, I've taken it to the Erie County Fair, and we walk it around in a wagon there. And I announce kind of ahead of time that I'm going to be there. And a lot of the Bandit fans, or even fans that that aren't necessarily Bandit fans, but they're inquisitive about what the trophy is and what it means and what it represents. Get pictures with that. Channel 4, who broadcasts from the fair each year. We were on Channel 4, and we were able to talk more about the cup and why we were there. Brought it to a golf tournament this past weekend for Gigi's, which is a charitable organization. And then just took it around to different places and really enjoyed a cup that way.
What was your favorite moment out of all the events? I know all of them were, but was there one specific event that was really your favorite this summer with the trophy?
Yeah, boy, it's hard to say. They're all good. Anytime I get a chance to interact with fans and get fans to be able to touch the cup and hold the cup and get pictures with the cup, that's really big for me. We also took it to Akron, by the way, Akron Central Schools, and we allowed a lot of the kids and students and people that were there to get pictures with it. They loved it too. I'd probably say the probably for me this time it was probably back at the VA, and we were able to take it. And I hope I don't misspeak on this. We were able to take it to the ninth floor, which I think is the hospice wing for VA. So, I don't know what each individual's condition is, but my guess is that it's not great, right? And for those people, mostly elderly, that were able to get a picture with the cup, and honestly, Chris, it was funny that I think all but maybe one, so 4 out of 5, I think they knew the Bandits, so they watched the Bandits from their hospital beds, this past spring. So it was exciting for me to bring it in. The nurses were really appreciative that we brought it there, and I think we were able to uplift some spirits with some people that made some connections to the team. So that was pretty cool for me.
How much do the Buffalo Bandits mean to Buffalo, the Western New York area, and even parts of Southern Ontario?
Yeah, it's probably a better question for Scott or Dan Ristine, Scott Lawfully, Dan Ristine. But from my perspective, I can't go anywhere without seeing a Bandit shirt or a Bandit hat or a Bandit flag. In fact, when I had the cup, every time I saw a flag or something in somebody's house, I pulled in their driveway and said, "Hey, you want to get a picture with the cup?" And they were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it's you!" And they grab a picture, right? So to me, I think that first and foremost, the city of Buffalo is a huge sports town, right? And they bleed Buffalo Bills colors. They bleed blue and gold for the Sabres. The Bandits, especially over probably the last 5-6 years, have really, I think, made huge strides, in this city and becoming, I would say, the third major sport, in the city. So again, no matter where you go, they know the sayings. If they see me, they're yelling Buffalo. What? I'll be driving by and somebody will be on the stair. I park at a red light and somebody's there and they look, they see, and they yell Buffalo. What? What's he got? Things like that. So I definitely think it's pretty critical, and again, I mean, it's really the only team locally that has been able to win some championships, right? And that's not a knock on the Sabres and the Bills. They're going to get theirs, and I'm huge fans of both of them. But for a lot of fans, this is a rallying time for them to be part of championships.
I kind of get mad when I hear national media say, "Oh, Buffalo's only has a 2 sports teams," and I always chirp and say, "Look, the Buffalo Bandits are 3-time back-to-back NLL champions. National Lacrosse League to me is a pro sport. It is just as good as the other big 4 pro sports, as far as I'm concerned."
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I listen. This is, when you see what these guys do, I think the sad part is obviously from an economic standpoint. This is they're like the PLL. They're not able to pay these players enough to make this their full-time job. Now, a lot of these guys like Dane and Josh and Ian and some others, they're able to do some between different leagues and maybe sponsorships or commercials and different things. They're able to make a career out of it for the time being. but ultimately, they're not going to survive, or they're not going to be able to retire from this league without having to probably go get another job. So I think for a lot of people, I think people look at that and they say, well, yes, it's a pro sport, but at the end of the day, it's not kind of on par with the NHL or the NFL. But I think more and more people are recognizing, that given what the players sacrifice, given the athleticism, and really just watching the game and seeing how it's growing in the area and in different cities, I think there's more legitimacy than ever for them to start to think about this being more and more of a pro sport, closer to the level of the NHL, the NFL kind of leagues.
I know they have coverage with TSN and ESPN, and I'm hoping one day they'll get a bigger TV contract, because I see so many similarities between the National Lacrosse League and the CFL, and I know they're different sports, but they're great leagues, and I would hopefully like to see a bigger TV contract. And I know you can't speak on this, Chris, but I know the contract between the league and the players is up, so I'm hoping the NLL and the Players Association can get a deal, because I think it would be devastating for this league to have a work shutdown or no contract, no season next year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think given the momentum, you're right. I don't know if this league can afford to have a shutdown, but again, I'm not close enough to the economics, and I'm not part of the negotiations, and I certainly haven't heard anything from anybody, on kind of where things are right now. But I'm optimistic, Chris, that both parties understand what's at stake, and I'm guessing that both parties will work diligently to get things done. Right? I mean, for this league to survive, I mean, obviously, the owners have to, they don't want to lose money, right? And the players want to make money. So, it's no different than any other sport out there. I mean, James Cook just signed a contract, to be with Buffalo, and certainly, he was holding out, or whatever you want to call it, because he wanted to get paid. He needed job security, right? So I don't begrudge the players for trying to do what they need to do, but at the same time, too, from an ownership standpoint, they got to make good business decisions. So it'll be interesting.
I have another question. It's actually a good question from Robbie from the 716 Sports Blither. He wants to ask you, Chris, how has the National Lacrosse League changed throughout the years and your 33 seasons?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for me, it's just they've gotten more athletic, right? So we've added teams, obviously, and I think that the players have gotten more skilled and more athletic. You've always had the Gates and the Tavareses and the Iannucci's and others, but I think what you're seeing now is, it's still a physical game, but you're not seeing as much fighting. You're seeing a lot of more creative play, lacrosse play. Um, you're seeing players that kind of cross between the outdoor and the indoor game, bringing different skill sets. So I think those have probably been the biggest changes for me, outside of obviously more teams, more cities, more travel, that kind of thing.
Hey, Chris, gotta ask you this question. Do you ever see a day of possibly an outdoor lacrosse team professionally in Buffalo?
Outdoor meaning not box lacrosse, meaning just, like PLL style.
The field lacrosse, yes, yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I shouldn't say that because you never know, right? But I mean, but if you're asking me, you know, based on what I've seen so far, and I try to follow the PLL and kind of where they are and what they like to do. I don't know. I don't think they've got plans, or I don't know if there's going to be an opportunity for outdoor here. Um, and I don't know. I don't know enough about the marketplace to tell you that there's an appetite for that. I'm thinking smarter people than me have kind of looked into it and felt that, maybe Buffalo is more of a great indoor, winter type box lacrosse town than they are an outdoor. But that's a great question. I don't really have, my personal opinion is probably not, but I don't know. That doesn't mean it can't work.
What are your thoughts on the arena being the Keybank Center for the next 10 years? And to your knowledge, is there going to be any more renovations being done at that arena in the next few years?
Yeah, I know that there were some things. I've seen some clippings on social media where I think that they've talked about potentially next steps and doing some additional renovating. They know that the building's older. So I think that, conversations will go on. I'm guessing again, and this is not a representation of the Pagula family because I don't do that, but I did think I saw some reputable social media stuff that I think both the building folks and Pagulas know that there needs to be some additional upgrades done, and that they'll look to do some of that stuff potentially after next year. But I don't know where that stands. But I don't know what the vision is, and I don't know. I can't recollect how old the arena. I think it was '96 when we opened up. Um, so it's
Hard to
probably due
believe.
for some. Yeah, it's probably definitely due for renovations for sure. But as far as new arenas go, I don't know if there's just knowing what we're doing with the new Bill Stadium. I'm not sure we're in a position right now to start building a new ice rink or a new facility for the Bandits.
Chris, where does this latest championship ranks in terms of the seven the Bandits have won, in your opinion, since '92? And thoughts on their opponents, the Saskatchewan Rush, who I thought was one of the best teams in the league, right behind Buffalo.
Yeah, so I would say this ranks up pretty high, just probably because it was the third, and that helps to tie a record with Rochester, right? And to me, you know, it cements a legacy for this team that few have been able to do. So to me, I think this one ranks up there pretty good, right? Um, the second part of the question was.
Just where did it rank during the 7 seasons? The other part, Chris,
Yeah,
I know you can't say a lot of, but it's good news. You mentioned Rochester. That is good news for the National Lacrosse League that Rochester found an owner in
100%.
Seneca Nation.
100%. Yeah, I couldn't have been happier to see that, and I was rooting for somebody to pick up that team. I mean, I'm just a PA guy, right? At the end of the day, but
Yeah.
I've got a vested interest in this league because when I'm done, and I hang up the mic and somebody else takes over, I want this league to flourish for decades, and for the next 50, 60 years, whatever it is. So it was important to me that we didn't have another Panther City situation where we lost the team. So I was ecstatic to see that that the Senecas picked up the team, and even more ecstatic to see that it's sticking in Rochester and they're making an investment there. I love the rivalry. There's a lot of players on that team that are ex-Bandits that I really respect. So for me, I couldn't have been more happy. I would love for us to be able to expand even further and get some more stability within some of the teams that we have today.
I do like to move the Riptide to Ottawa, and the Toronto Rock, I believe, will be back in their new renovated arena in Hamilton this year. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Rock. I think the Rock's fan base will come back to that new renovated arena in Hamilton. But the league's right now at 14 teams, and hopefully, maybe in the next 5 years, they can get a few more teams in this league. Maybe get it up to 16 teams in the next 5 years.
Yeah, that would be great. And when you talk about the Rock, yeah, I mean, I think they've been stunted a bit just because of what they've had to deal with in the renovation side. I think it's the first Ontario Center. So yes,
They
I think
changed
that.
it. Yeah, yeah.
What's the new name? Is there
Oh,
a
they
new name?
changed it. Yeah, the new name is the TD Coliseum in Hamilton.
Okay, that's awesome. Um, I mean, I can tell you that with Toronto having the first three picks this year in the draft, I think that they're gonna, I mean, and I'm guessing that they're gonna, look to bring folks back that that they made trades for last year. So who knows if Nick Rose comes back and Mitch DeSnew, but they were a good team last year. They had some bad breaks with injuries here and there, but they're going to become even better now that with those top three picks. And I'm guessing, those top three picks are going to be able to contribute pretty quickly. So they're going to be formidable foe for the next decade or so. And certainly they could be a team like the Bandits in a few years where they're the team to beat, and everybody's going to be gunning for them. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I look for and I want everybody to be successful. I just want the Bandits to be the most successful.
Speaking of the NLL draft, takes place on Saturday, September 6th. Do you see them eventually growing the NLL draft? I'm not obviously not to the NFL stats, but do you see maybe one day they could have it in Buffalo?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the dynamics or how they, what they do. There's a lot of logistics that are involved. I think, from a travel perspective and all those things, right? And for a league that's really focused on economics, I think right now it's kind of tough to say. I mean, you even look at the NHL, right? I mean, the NHL had all their stuff done virtually, and I think they're looking to continue to do that. I think they're happy with that, just because it helps teams cut down back on a lot of costs and things. So again, I'm probably not the guy, to give you a great answer on that. But, if I'm just looking through the tea leaves, I think that the system they've got right now economically works. So I don't see it changing.
I would like to bring Scott Lawfer back on my show because I would like to ask him and even John Tavares. Obviously, when you're drafting, you're looking for the best athlete and talent. But I would ask them what other characteristics they look for in a Buffalo Bandits player besides talent.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's tough for me to speak, for Chugger and those guys. But I know it's team fit's probably really, really critical to them. They need somebody that they know is going to be good in the room, not just good on the floor. Talent's one thing, and I think that certainly that if they got a kid or somebody that is just going to wow them from a talent perspective, they'll work on and figure out the other stuff. But the ideal candidate for them would be somebody with great talent, but also somebody who's great in the room and a great teammate and you know, um, somebody that's going to work well from a chemistry perspective with the rest of the guys.
Hey, Chris, I wanted to get your opinion on this. Which player or players really stood out for the Bandits and their latest championship run, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, the obvious one's Ian McKay, right? He was the MVP, and there's no doubt that Ian, I mean, Josh and Dane get a lot of attention, right? So, with that, it frees up other people to rise to the top, and no doubt Ian did that. When I think about the championship, especially the last couple of games, I mean, when you look at the job that Chris Kluche did in that final game, I mean, just coming back from an ankle injury, and I saw him, I don't know, a week or two before, and I can't remember the timing in Saskatchewan, and that thing, I mean, it looked like a softball, around his ankle, and I didn't give him any, I didn't think he'd be able to play at all. And a week later, he's on the floor and making a difference, and I think he made a big difference on that team. You can look at Paul Dawson and Weiss, and you look at Steve Priolo. Always these guys blocking shots, and Cam Wires. I mean, Matt Vince. The beauty of this team is that everybody contributes, man. Everybody has a role. And, I know you asked a question earlier about Saskatchewan. I thought they had a great season. They did. They just hit a team in that second half that just had experience, has been there before, knew what they needed to do to turn it up a notch. And they just shut them down, much like they did Colorado, a few years earlier, and just did give them any time and space. And so it's tough. But, obviously you look at the MVP, Ian McKay, I think Cloutier, Dawson, Priolo, people like that.
Did you see McKay coming out like this, especially in the postseason?
Well, I mean, he's a great two-way talent, right? I mean, playing defense, transition, coming out the front door, whatever. So you knew he had the skills, right? But wasn't going to get the opportunity, and the team stuck with him. So did JT, and Chugger's credit, they saw something in him, and they could have very easily put him back, in transition, and they left him on the floor, to get out the gate, and so yeah, I mean, I don't know if beginning of the year, if you said to me, Ian McKay's your MVP, I don't know if I would have said, I would have placed money on that. I would have certainly looked to Josh and Dane. But it didn't surprise me. I mean, he's a character dude. He's a great guy. He's a team guy, team first guy, will do anything that the team needs him to do. And he's very skilled and very talented.
Hey, Chris, I know we've talked about it before, but I don't think John Tavares and the coaching staff get enough credit because it's not easy. Obviously, the talent's there, but they also have to keep guys' egos in check and buy the Bandits way, the team first. And from what I've seen as a media freelance media, is it is a team concept and it's all for one. There's no individuals on this team.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, JT and Jugger and Scott and everybody, they deserve a lot more credit than they get. You can't, you don't design and put a team together. Listen, you can have, I mean, the New York Yankees are a prime example of it, right? They got one of the largest payrolls. They
Yeah.
get some of the most talented players. Now, I'll argue that a little bit this year. We won't get into the Yankee conversation, but year after year, it's not always, the team with the best talent and the highest payroll, because to your point, you need someone like a Marv Levy that can take that talent, put it together, and get them to play together to a point where they're successful. And that's what JT does, and he brings a system. And he's the kind of guy too that loves everybody on the team, but at the end of the day, he's going to play the guys that he thinks are going to get the results. And I give him a lot of credit for that, because me personally, I think one of my drawbacks is I tend to emotionally get a little tied to some of these guys. And I'll feel for certain individuals, whether they didn't play that night, or maybe they're getting traded, and it'll bum me out. But these guys got to make hard decisions, and JT and Chugger, and these guys are flawless at it, man. They've done a great job. Now that doesn't guarantee them anything in the future. It's kind of tough, right? The team's getting up there in years, and they got to continually try to replenish talent to stay where they are. But right now, I don't see any fall off from where we are with this team right now. So credit goes to JT, Chugger, and Scott.
I know you can't speak on this, but as for myself, as media and as a fan, I'm hoping and I'm assuming that John Tavares and the coaching staff and Steve Dietrich will be back next year.
Yeah, I think JT's under contract. I don't know about Chugger. Yeah, again, I can't speak to that. But listen, I'll just say that I don't see why they wouldn't be back. And and keep in mind, you got Eric Vince, Matt's brother, who's a coach, and you've got Anthony Cosmo, who again works with goaltenders. I mean, you got Dan Teet, you got Rob Buckin, out in the field. These guys are doing a great job identifying talent as well. So it's a cumulative effort, and it's the whole group. But at least at this point, Chris, I don't see why any one of those guys would not be back.
And as for the business side of it, I think Scott Lawfer, who's been a guest on my show before, I think he's done a terrific job because this team has marketed itself as well, and obviously winning sales as well. And I'm expecting the season ticket sales would probably even go up even more this year for the Bandits, and that's something I'd have to talk to Scott about.
Yeah, you would hope, right? I mean, you win 3 in a row. You would hope that people would continue to invest. I think at the end of the day, everybody wants to see a winner, so that's first and foremost. As you said, that's job number one. If you win, it's going to bring people in. But I think just continuing to bring in a competitive team, continuing the game day presentation that they do, and with the entertainment value of it. So I think if as long as we continue to to push the envelope in all those different areas to make sure that we're competitive, and we're putting a good product on the floor and doing our best to accommodate fans within the arena. I don't see why we wouldn't continue to be successful with our attendance.
Chris, I didn't get a chance to ask you this the last time, but what is a game day like for you as a public address announcer? And also, something I've always noticed with you when you're working at the Bandits games, being there in person, is you have Twizzlers and candy. Just tell us about why with your game day snacks as well.
Yeah. So first and foremost, and I've had to clear this up a few times. So the what is it? Sour Patch Kids, the Twizzlers, those are all brought by the off-field official. We used to call them the off-ice officials, the off-field officials, right? So the guys that work the penalty box, the game clock, that's all their stuff. It's not mine. So I'm not going to lie. I may steal a Twizzler here and there, but those are my dentist. In fact, called me one day. He texted me. He goes, "Hey, those Twizzlers aren't yours, are they?" I go, "No, they're not. They're not mine." But game snacks for me, and the way I prepare is, I like to get down to the arena sometime around 5:30. I like to get there ahead of the crowd. I like to kind of get acclimated with the team, see the boys a little bit. People may or may not know this. I like to think that, I mean, we're not best buds, but I like to think that I'm close to some of the guys on the team in the sense that, we can share, what's happening in our lives, personal stuff, talk golf, whatever it may be. All those synergies helps me do what I do, because the more comfortable I am, the more I know the guys, the more I know what's going on, the more I kind of see, you know, what's happening with the dynamics with the team, the more comfortable I am doing my job, right? Um, it's like anything else when you walk into a room, and the people, you're more comfortable in that surrounding than you are when you walk into a room of strangers, right? So the more I know the guys, and me getting there early is just getting a kind of a read on the guys and how everybody's doing, and and keeping things loose for me, and doing my best to keep it loose without crossing a line for those guys, to make sure they stay focused is important. But at the same time too, is it helps to loosen me up so that, when I get on the mic, I can be loose with the fans, and I can have more fun with it. If I feel like the team is tense, or they're kind of, shutting down a little bit, that gives me a little bit of pause. So for me, I'm real careful on how the emotion flows within the team. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, Chris. I've had other public address announcers on here too, and some from the NHL. Do you guys have a website with name pronunciations? Because I know how important that is on media and radio, but especially for your job as well. Is there a website with the National Lacrosse League where you guys, all the PA guys, get together with making sure you guys
Yeah.
get the players' names right?
No, we don't get together, and there might be something on there. I don't know if there is. I would tell you that in some cases, like for me, it's the visiting team, right? So in some cases, the visiting team through their media packet has pronunciations there, and I'll use that. But I'll also tell you too, Chris, that one thing that I've done is in my 33 years or so with the league, is I've come to know a lot of the guys on the other teams, right? Whether it's the players or coaches, and I feel very comfortable going up to those players and or coaches and just asking for the correct pronunciation, because it is important for me to, even if it's not our team, even if it's the other team, I do my best to respect the fact that these guys are players, and I do my best to respect the other team and try to get the pronunciations right. So in most cases, if it's not part of the media guide, and even if it is, and I'm not sure, you know, if I'm reading that translation correctly, I will go to the player and or the coach to try to get that right.
In your 33 years, Chris, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Yeah,
Which player's name was the most trickiest to pronounce in your 33 years?
it's a good one. I'm trying to think. Hmm, I don't even know. So I'm gonna tell you that probably the one that I have the hardest time with, and is each year when we do Native American Night, and when we have Haudenosaunee. I That one there, I've got to go through it in my head a few times, and we've got some people in the organization, some off-field folks that know that really well, and I have to go over it a few times because it's really important to me that I get that right, right? And for whatever reason, that one's a tongue twister for me, and it screws me up. Player wise, I can't think of somebody that once I get the pronunciation from a player perspective, and I'm usually pretty good. I'm usually pretty good. So I'll have to come back to you on that one because I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Chris, for those people that are watching this, our show live stream or on audio, and they're interested in becoming like a public address announcer, from your experience with the Sabres and Bandits, what advice would you give to them?
Another good one. Another good one. So I would say get as much experience as you can doing it, first and foremost. I don't know what it would take today for somebody. I don't know. I mean, if I left the Bandits tomorrow, I don't know if they'd host auditions. I don't know if they'd, look to local radio, TV guys. It seems like a lot of the PA jobs now, they're trying to find local media people that are kind of in the business a little bit, kind of with interest in doing things like that. So for the layman, someone like myself, who I went to school for broadcasting, I didn't continue to pursue that career for a lot of reasons. I decided to deflect and move on and do other things, but I still wanted to keep to some degree some broadcast experience, and that's what the PA thing did for me. Um, but I would say getting in front of crowds. When I came up, I was a DJ, right? So I DJ'd weddings, parties, events, and I did a lot of you know stuff that I do for the Bandits today. I did that and kind of incorporated a lot of that stuff where it was a lot of, you know, crowd or audience participation stuff. So I would say just get in front of people, man. Start off any way you can to, MC an event or, DJ a wedding or whatever you can do that, will get you in front of folks and getting yourself comfortable. And then find a shtick for yourself, right? Find something that you think might work, that people might get attracted to. Um, Create a style that's your own, that's more unique, and then once you do that, just start sending tapes to, if you're in Buffalo, and send them to the Sabres, send them to the Bills, and you never know, because they may need somebody, and maybe it's not a PA guy, but they need somebody to host an event in the parking lot that day, and they got your tape and they liked your voice, and the next thing you know, they bring you in to do it, and you did a great job, and now all of a sudden the PA spot opens up because the guy's sick. Well, let's just get that person to do it because we've already been comfortable and we've had them in here, right? So it's that kind of stuff.
Chris, what is your biggest strengths as a public address announcer for the Bandits and in your time doing it? And in your opinion, what makes a good public address announcer in today's society, in today's sports?
What's my strength? For the Bandits, I'd like to say that it's just the timing and understanding the situation, right? So for me, it's identifying what's going on at the game at that time, and then being able to either comment or not comment in a way that I think um, complements, whatever's going on at that certain time. So I like to think that I've got a little bit of that. That's probably my strength. Um, and then the second part of it was something about what do I
What
think?
makes what makes a good public address announcer overall, in your opinion?
Yeah, so I think just being self-aware, right? And that's a broad statement because every PA is going to be different. When I did the NHL, it was different. I'm sure when they do, the Bills games, it's different. You're being asked to do different things. So, whatever that is, just, be professional, be prepared, um, you know, read the script, know what you're presenting, know, how you're going to present it. I almost practice things in my head before I do things. Now for the Bandits, it's a little bit different because I've been doing it for a long time. Um, but if I'm the Bills guy tomorrow, I'm going to be sure that I'm going through the roster and I know who the players are and I know numbers, and I'm going to be sure that when I get there, I'm going to read through the script and I'm going to ask questions, and I'm going to be sure that I'm comfortable with what's being presented in front of me that they want me to read, and I'm going to ask questions like, how do you want me to, how would you want me to do this? Do you want me to do this straight read? Do you want a little energy behind it? You want more inflection? Those kinds of things, right? I would guess that for people that are in the job today, they're doing those things, so, but I would say overall, I would just say, just be professional, man, just take it seriously. So, one thing that I do get from a Bandit perspective, and I get this from fans and I get it from players, is I know a lot of them don't like when the announcers come at the other team, right? When they're vocal against the other team in a way. In some cases, inciting chaos or whatever it may be against the other team. I think that there's a balance there where you can be respectful of the other team, and you can be creative for your team without lessening the value of the other team. And those are things that I think that I try to do. And there might have been a time here and there where maybe I've crossed the line a little bit, but that's never my intent. My intent is always to be respectful, but it's to highlight our team and our successes.
Chris, do you see, in your opinion, that this core will be back for a chance at a fourth straight championship? Because that hasn't been done. I believe the last professional sports team to win four straight championships, I believe, was the 1980 to 1983 New York Islanders. Do you feel, in your opinion, that majority of this core will be back to try to take a run at a fourth straight title, which is really rare nowadays?
Yeah. So my opinion only is, and this is, a lot of this is just based off of the conversations that we had on stage, at the rally at the end of the third championship is, I think so. I mean, you think about, Vino, maybe Buchanan, Dawson's, people like that. I think those are guys that are probably at a point where they've got to make some decisions on what they want to do. But at the same time, too, if I just look at it from a logical standpoint, let's just take Vino, right? I mean, here's a guy that's, there's some incremental dollars in addition to what he does on a daily basis that, he's going to lose if he's not playing. So I don't know how important the money is to him and his family. I know he's got a great job and he's a teacher and he's done well. So, but at the end of the day, it's tough to give up a paycheck. I know his kids are at an age where they're really enjoying it, so I start thinking through those things, right? Again, this is without any outside knowledge. I'm not hearing anything from anybody on the team. So I just start to read through the tea leaves a little bit. And my sense is, and you got Paul Dawson, who just had his third child. My sense is that, they might be willing to give it one more shot to see if they can make history. But again, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But if you're asking me my sense is I feel, again, the optimistic side of me says, I think I think these guys might be willing or interested to come back to make another run at it.
Chris, overall assessment on Matt Vincent, how much of an impact has he had on the Bandits organization? Obviously in the arena, but outside the arena as well.
Yeah, I mean, Matt's a big piece of it, right? I mean, goaltending wins championships, so at the end of the day, he's the GOAT, when it comes to goaltending. I don't know of anybody any better. I mean, people argue, Dallas Elliott, some other guys, and I know, there's guys in the league today that are very talented. Del Bianco comes to mind, and there's a lot of guys that are really good. But Matt Vince he's the GOAT. So, he's made a huge difference, and bringing him on board, and I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it might be, it has definitely solidified championship, for the Bandits. As far as the community goes, people love him, right? I mean, he's bringing rings and cups, to the city. I think that he's a very bright, humble guy. I think people love that about Matt. Nothing but solid, man. He's a solid dude, and a guy that went to Canisius College here. So, I think the community loves the guy. And they'd hate to see that. They'd hate to see him retire. So I think they'd love to see him come back and make another run at it.
When does training camp normally start for the Buffalo Bandits?
So I want to say late October, early November, things will kick off. They might start doing some medical things in late October, but the calendar starts to get pretty full come November with practices scheduled and scrimmages and things like that, typically.
Hey, Chris, before we wrap up this show, I know you're a big Bills fan, and I know I'm an Eagles fan, and the Bills and Eagles are going to play this year just after Christmas at Highmark Stadium. Two Bills questions I wanted to ask you. Just thoughts on running back James Cook getting his extension today. And the last question for the Bills, the final season at Highmark Stadium, what will you miss and what was your favorite moment in that stadium?
A couple good questions there. So I would say James Cook, happy for the guy, right? I mean, obviously he's a big piece of our offense. He had an outstanding year last year. I think there's only upside left in James. I think the thing that always makes me pause with anybody that signs a contract and gets a new contract is, does the air out of the tires get deflated a bit, and you kind of, okay, you don't have that same energy you do when you know you're in a contract year. But I don't know if that's going to be an issue with James. I couldn't be happier that he's on board, that distractions away from us, and now from a team perspective, we can focus on on winning games. Yeah, it's kind of a bittersweet. I mean, the stadium's definitely it's definitely worn out. It's one of those. I think it's at a point where for me, the stadium, it's time to move on to something nicer and newer. And what I love about the new stadium, although it's not a roof, which I really would have loved the roof, they say that the way it's designed, you're not gonna feel the elements of the weather, which I think is going to be great, because one of the big drawbacks for me anyway, is probably a little softer than most, is those late November, December games to go to they're tough, in the cold and the wind and the bluster and all that stuff. So I like the fact that they've thought through that a little bit. I got a lot of different memories going all the way back to OJ watching football, as a kid, and Joe Ferguson, who was the quarterback for the Bills, and certainly the Jim Kelly era, that was huge with all the success there. So, I think for me, I don't know if I can pinpoint it to a game, but I'd have to say probably the Jim Kelly years were probably most memorable, because I was at near the same age as those guys as they were playing, and I worked in local clubs and I worked in local media, and I was able to meet and kind of get close to some of those guys, Darryl Talley and others, and just to see them go on the run, even though they didn't win a Super Bowl, but to beat a 4 straight in a row, it just brought a lot of respect to the city. Now, it would have brought a little bit more if we would have won one of those, but those were championship teams, man, and it was disappointing to see them not being able to finish it. But I think when I think about memories, I think just seeing how dominant those teams were during those years, that was pretty cool.
When they do demolish the stadium, are you the type that wants to get a seat or something from the stadium as a collectible?
No, I'll tell you, Chris, my attitude with some of that stuff has changed over the years. I've got so many things. I've got, I don't know, maybe 30 Hall of Fame jerseys hanging in my closet. From
Wow.
varying events that I MC Jim Kelly Stargaze events back in the day, and got to meet people like Marino and Eddie Van Halen and Meatloaf and people like that. And through my years at the Sabres, I've got the French Connection, and I've got the Dominic Hasek's and the LaFontaines, and just in helping Jim Kelly, I've been able to acquire Jim Kelly jerseys and other things back in the day. So I've got a lot of stuff. And back then, I thought it was really cool. And one day I was going to create a sports bar and put them all up, and all this different memorabilia that I've got throughout the years. And it still sits in the closet today. So it's, a lot of it, I look at it and I go, I loved it at the time, and for the moment it was great. But, really at the end of the day, I mean, it's just good. It's good from a memory perspective, but that's really about it. So for me to collect more stuff, I think the wife would be like, what are we going to do with this? I think the closet's full. Where are we going to put that? And so I've kind of, I don't really collect as much of that kind of stuff anymore.
Any plans in the future of writing your own book called Buffalo what?
No, I don't love reading, so I can't imagine having to write a book. JT's got a book out there, and I had to write. I didn't have to write. He asked, and the writer asked if I'd write a little blurb in it, so I did, and that was tough, just because it's hard for me. It's hard for me to put a lot of that stuff, from pen to paper kind of thing, and trying to think back on all the memories and different things that I've done, and different people that I've ran into and things that I've seen. It's somewhat of a challenge. So it's just probably not worth it to me. But who knows? I guess you never say never, right?
Chris, this is a new segment on my show when I wrap up with my guests. It's called Ask the Host CDP a Question. Do you have a question for me to put me on the hot seat?
Yeah. So, Chris, I guess, you've been around and you've seen a lot of different things. I mean, I see your social stuff with the Argos and you're doing a lot with local media and you've been to Buffalo and the Bisons and other stuff. When you've been with the Bandits, talk a little bit about your experiences with the Bandits and maybe how they've been different, how the Bandits differ to teams like the Argos and, maybe even the Bisons or some other professional sports that you've been to.
Bandits treat me like part of the team. Like how I got connected with the Bandits, Chris, was through Pat Gregor from TSN. He's an
Yeah.
National Lacrosse League analyst,
Yep.
and he told me about the sport. And then he introduced me to John Gerkler, and John came on my show as well. And he said, "You want to come down to a Bandits game? We'll get you a media pass." This was back in 2022. And my first name was Rock, but I reached out to them and they didn't really get back to me, and I'm okay with it. And the Buffalo Bandits took me in, thanks to John Gerkler, Pat Gregor. They introduced me to the Bandits, and as soon as I went to my first Bandit game 4 years ago, I fell in love with the sport and the organization. And when I'm at the arena, Chris, even though I'm freelance media, I'm not working for the team. The team's been really good with me, and getting to meet you and befriend you and Ali Brady and Bud Bailey. And I love it. I feel like I'm a part of the organization, which I know technically I'm not. It's just like being at home when I'm at a Bandits game.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, we love having you there. So hopefully, some of the craziness will subside a little bit and we'll get you back to one of the games this year.
I miss Buffalo and I miss you and I miss Brett. Please make sure you say hi to Brett for me and your family. And we will definitely see you again one day. And I look forward to coming back to my second home in Buffalo. Even though I'm an Eagles fan, I consider Buffalo like my second home.
That's all right, brother. I appreciate that, but thank you. Yeah, we look forward to seeing you back, and thanks for having me on. And I'll definitely, Brett's right next to me here, so I'll let Brett know that you said hello.
And finally, Chris, where can our audience follow you on social media, and the best way of getting a hold of you if they want to contact you?
Yeah, so I'm on X, Instagram, all those things. I don't know. I think, let's see, I'm trying to think what my handle is on those. Offhand, I'd have to go off and look at it. But I think it's at Swentac for X, and I think it's at Swenny, I think, for Instagram.
And I just put it down on the graphics as well. And Chris, I want to say thank you so much, and good luck to your Yankees. My taggers, they are struggling too. So hopefully both of our teams can turn it around soon, because October is not that far away. And I'm looking forward to another National Lacrosse League season. And I'm looking forward to the day where I can come back and see you and Brett and the team. And you know what? Regardless, I will be covering the team next year, whether it's remotely from home or I'll be back in Buffalo. But Chris, I want to say thank you so much. And as well.
You dropped off there at the last minute, but thank you, Chris. Appreciate you, brother. Be good.
Thank you so much, Chris. Have a great day, and we'll talk
too.
to you soon. Take care. Thanks. All right, guys, or all right, everyone. That concludes season 11, episode 24, overall 574 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph. Before we wrap up this show, guys, I was at Oblivion 80s Car and Culture Show the other day in Milton, Ontario, and I had a chance to do an interview with the caregiver of one of the Knight Rider kit cars, an 82 Pontiac Grand Am Trans Am, and we're going to play this interview right now, courtesy of my YouTube channel, Chris P.A Live with CDP Talk Show. Please subscribe and hit the like notification, and we're just going to play this interview I did with the caretaker of Kit. from Knight Rider. Good evening, everybody. This is Chris P.A from Oblivion, 80s and 90s car road here in Milton. And I have Kit from Knight Rider here as one of our guests. And I have the owner of Kit.
My name is Maggie. I'm original from Hungary, Europe. I moved to Canada in 2006, and Kit was my childhood dream. So I'm so happy that I can be here at Oblivion today and, enjoy the car, enjoy all the other cars. It's super nice here. It's just really, really hot today. So
what made Knight Rider and Kit so special back in the 80s?
I think the fact that it was able to talk and drive itself, and it was so friendly and always looked out for people, and took Michael everywhere he needed to go. And me personally, I just love the car's shape and the looks of it, and that's like a huge thing. Like none of the cars, at least in Europe, had anything like that.
How did you come about getting Kit, and how much work was it to restore it?
It was a lot of work. I got the donor car in 2009 from the original owner from Whitby. The car itself was white and all rusty. It took 3 years to source down the parts and rebuild everything from the shell up, basically.
Can you tell us about how you got the cast of Knight Rider to autograph the car?
Yeah, so I take this car to everywhere. I do lots of weddings, Comic Cons, car shows, and I did Comic Cons with David Hasselhoff and the voice of the car, William Daniels. So they signed the dashboard at the Comic Con, and on the back of the car, under the hatch, there is a piece that we took to Los Angeles where all the costumes find it. So that's the story behind it. So David Hasselhoff drove the car in 2022 in Toronto. There was a gumball rally from Toronto to Miami, and he opened the rally with Kit, the flag drop, and all the supercars drove behind the car. It was amazing. It was an amazing experience. So yeah.
Is this your first time at a Buffalo car and
It's actually, I've been to all of them. My friend, and all these cars leak the T-tops.
Finally, what's a fun fact about Kit that fans might not know about Kit?
I think if you talk about current culture, it's that Tesla was based on this car, if you think about it. So all the modern features that the Tesla has, from driving itself to parking itself to all the features, Kit already had it.
What's your favorite feature on Kit?
On my Kit, the fact that it brings happiness to people. And wherever I go, it's a huge attraction, and people absolutely love it because it brings their childhood back. From the original car, the fact that it could jump, it would drive itself, and take Michael everywhere, and it's Michael's best buddy in the show.
Finally, what's the next big event you're taking Kit?
This year, this is probably the last one, but I take it to weekly car shows in Vaughan, where we are from. Next year, we'll be at Oblivion, and I take maybe to Auto Show in Toronto. We'll have to see what's next. Sometimes it's last minute. They just call me and ask if you can have the car there. I say yes. No. Yes, so it's kitforhere.com, sorry. I am on Facebook under Aggie Kit, AGIKITT. Aggie is me and Kit is the car. Also Instagram, same thing. We are everywhere, so we are reachable.
I want to say thank you so much for this interview and for letting me sit in Kit and get some pictures as well. So stay tuned for more content from
of course.
CDP, Chris P.A, caretaker of the Pontiac Firebird Trans Am, known as Kit from Knight Rider. That was in 1982. And I want to say thank you to the organizers of the Oblivion 80s and 90s car show. for having me out here on Sunday in Milton. I would highly recommend it. 80s and 90s cars culture show. It was great. Please check out my social media pages for some pictures, some videos, footage, and I did some interviews with Pat, Stacy, and Stefan, the original cast members of Degrassi. And also I interviewed Aggie, the caregiver or caretaker of the Knight Rider car, as well as Corey Finkelstein from Zaire Insurance as well. And I want to say thank you to the organizers of the Oblivion Car Show for having me there as freelance media. You can check out their website, oblivioncarshow.ca, and make sure you check out my social media for pictures, videos, and my interviews as well. And it was a little bit hot that day, but it was worth it. And it was just right off the 401 near Milton at 8650 Tremaine Road as well. I want to say thank you to my guest again, Chris Swenson, or known as Swinny, the public address announcer for the Buffalo Bandits, for coming on here today. And I have another announcement to make before we wrap up this show, guys. The next Argo Bounce podcast show with co-host Chris P.A and Nick Small, we're back after a little bit of a break. It's going to be on Friday, August 15th at 7:45 p.m. Eastern. Nick and I are going to break down the Argos' latest devastating loss, 46-42 to Ottawa at BMO Field, blowing a 22-1 lead. The Argos are now 2-7, and they only have 8 games left in the regular season. And for them to go 9-9 and have a chance at a playoff spot, the Argos are going to have to win pretty well almost every game. 7 out of the last 8 games they need to go to 9-9, and that might not even get them into the playoffs. So they've dug themselves a big hole. And the Argos, so we're going to talk about the Argos Ottawa game, and then it's going to be our Argos pregame show with the Argos on Friday night at 9:05 Eastern, taking on the Edmonton Elks at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton. So if you're a fan of the Toronto Argonauts, CFL, or even the Edmonton Elks, check out the Argo Bounce podcast pregame show with Nick Small and myself, 7:45. We're probably going to go on for about an hour, and then everyone can tune in to TSN and watch the Argos Elks game. The Elks are 2-6, and they're struggling as well. The Elks are coming off a big win, so it's not going to be an easy game for the Argos against Edmonton, because I feel the Elks are better than their 2-6 record, and I do feel the Argos are a much better team than 2-7, but it's going to be a huge game. The next Live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by BarryCullen.com, to be announced. So check out my social media pages this weekend. I have more shows and guests booked for next week as well. This is my 8th show in 10 days. 8 shows in 10 days with 9 different guests. So I want to say thank you to all my wonderful guests and to everyone watching this live stream or on my audio platform. So I'm looking forward to having a day off on Thursday, and then the Argo Bounce show will be back on Friday. And the next Small Talk podcast with Marlene Sharp and myself, a monthly entertainment podcast show. We'll probably be doing one in the next couple weeks as well. So check out Marlene Sharp social media pages, or mine, or the Small Talk Facebook page, and we're going to be doing another show probably in the next couple weeks as well. So I love what I'm doing. And as we wrap up this show, guys, again, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Check out the employee pricing event right now at Barry Cullen Chevrolet. A 2025 Silverado LD Custom Blackout Edition, lease from $178 bi-weekly. That's like $89 weekly at 3.9% interest for 24 months with $4,995 down payment on an ultra-low kilometer lease. Includes a $5,126 employee pricing credit. More details at BarryCullen.com, or drop by the dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. And again, Barry Cullen Chevrolet is the proud and the official sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Speaking of advertisement, if you're a business looking to advertise on live stream, check out CDP Media Productions, the Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show the Argo Bounce podcast, the Small Talk podcast. I'm on 21 different platforms. I have listeners in 45 countries around the world, and I'm approaching 500,000. That's right, 500,000 views on my YouTube channel. So you can contact me at cpame19@gmail.com, and I look forward to hearing from you and working with you and to advertise and get your business's name out there on my live streaming and audio platform. So again, if you're looking to advertise your business, please reach out to me, cpame19@gmail.com, or DM me on any of my social media pages as well. As we wrap up this show, guys, if you like a personalized video message from yours truly, go to cameo.com/Chris Pame and book your cameo today. And as we wrap up this show, guys, again, you can follow Chris and the Buffalo Bandits on the social media sites, x.com, Swintech, and also x.com, NLL Bandits, Linktree, NLL Bandits, and the Buffalo Bandits official website is bandits.com. And if you want to follow the National Lacrosse League, go to nll.com as well. And also, the Cambridge District Humane Society this weekend is having a hot dog event brought to you by Freshco. Freshco grocery store at 1 Hespeler Road in Cambridge is doing a hot dog fundraiser event for the Cambridge District Humane Society Saturday, August 16th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at 1 Hespeler Road in Cambridge at the Freshco. Donate whatever you can, and whatever you can donate will get you a hot dog and a pop, and the money from this fundraiser will go to the Cambridge District Humane Society as well. So you like hot dogs and pop like I do, get down to Freshco in Cambridge this Saturday, August 16th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at 1 Hespeler Road as well. And speaking of Cambridge District Humane Society, they're located at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Telephone number 519-623-7722, extension 0, or visit their website at cambridgehumanesociety.org. All the animals that are up for adoption, their profile and the information are on cambridgehumanesociety.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. Make sure you subscribe and hit the follow notification. You can also view my media work through my website, beacons.ai/Chris D. Pame. Again, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is sponsored and brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for their newest selection of new pre-owned GM vehicles or all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can follow this content creator on TikTok at Chris Pame. Check out my latest Toronto Argonauts content, my Oblivion Car and Culture Show content, as well as my latest podcast shows on TikTok at Chris Pame. And thank you to my 972 followers. Now let's get CDP to 1,000 followers on TikTok. Go to TikTok at Chris Pame and hit that follow and like notification. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcasting, check out StreamYard.com. They have basic free plans, paid professional plans like I do. And if you're a business that does a lot of webinars or live streaming, StreamYard.com, and then contact our sales department for pricing as well. Yours truly has been using StreamYard now for over 4.5 years, and I give them a big thumbs up. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, the audio version is on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, YouTube Music, and Good Pods. And remember to subscribe, follow, and share as well. Finally, guys, you can email Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpame19@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback would be greatly appreciated. And if you like my media work and would like to support and contribute to my YouTube channel, which has a lot of content, and my talk show, I'm on PayPal. cpame19@gmail.com if you'd like to support my talk show and my media work through PayPal or Cameo again, cameo.com/Chris Pame as well. Finally, you guys can follow me on Facebook, Threads, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Blue Sky at Live with CDP 19 on Blue Sky. And remember to subscribe, like, and share to my YouTube channel. And I'm almost coming up to 500,000 views. So thank you to everyone who subscribed and viewed my YouTube channel as well. And that is about it for today, guys. And also, Rick Zamprin, who's a friend of mine, is taking place in the UPS plane poll in support of the United Way for Hamilton and Halton on September 13th at Hamilton Airport. By supporting Rick Zamprin, you're helping United Way invest in life-changing programs. Please consider donating here at this website, unitedwayhaltonhamilton.aka.raisin.com. And I contributed to Rick last night. So Rick is one of the good guys in the media industry, and he's also the play voice for the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the Canadian Football League on the Tiger Cats audio network. So please consider going to Rick Zamprin's United Way page and making a donation as well. Again, it's for the UPS plane poll in support of the United Way in Hamilton Halton region on September 13th at the Hamilton Airport. And again, you can help sponsor Rick on this United Way fundraiser on his website, and just whatever you can donate here as well. And I made a donation last night, United Way haltonhamilton.aka.raisin.com. Please go to that, or go to the United Way page there as well. So a shout out to Rick Zamprin for his work with the United Way of Halton and Hamilton. And I was proud to make a donation there as well. And that is about it, guys. I've had a busy week, 8 shows in 10 days. And my next show is going to be the Argo Bounce podcast show, returning from a 2-week break with myself and Nick Small. Friday, August 15th at 7:45, talking Argos Ottawa and Argos Edmonton, and maybe some Week 10 CFL picks as well. And Live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. We'll be back next week. I've got some more guests coming on next week. And check out my social media pages this weekend for my upcoming Live with CDP shows as well. I hope everybody has a great afternoon, great evening, and we'll see you back here for the Argo Bounce podcast show Friday night, 7:45 Eastern, with Nick Small and myself. And again, thank you to Chris Swenson, the longtime public address announcer for the Buffalo Bandits, for coming on here today, and to my sponsor, Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership here in Guelph. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Friday night with Nick Small, 7:45.
Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn, and on audio via Apple Podcasts.